one night I was able to go to a teen club, and it was me and Keenan and Kel, and we had fun.
Nice. A teen club in Orlando, huh?
We went to a teen club in Orlando. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was really fun.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to get back to that one later. I'm all grown up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is an amazing actress, singer, producer, boat racer, and acting coach. You may recognize her as the ever-optimistic Kiki or as the voice behind Penny Proud's popular frenemy, LaCienega Boulevardez. So sit your booty in the floor in a chair, pronto in the air, just don't go nowhere, and give it up for Alisa Reyes.
Wow. Hi. I need to just have that on a loop. That was one of the best intros ever. So thank you. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much.
That's a compliment for me off the rip right there. So I have to say, here on All Grown Up Psych, I love to talk to my guests about stuff that they don't normally talk about in terms of questions they don't normally get asked. But you do so many podcasts that is a challenge. And I think that speaks to what a wonderful person you are, because it means you're just so generous with your time as you're being right now.
Yeah, I'm excited. I honestly feel like this is a great way for me to connect with the whole world.
Yeah.
And also an intimate way to kind of, like you said, just dive in different ways. And I'm here to be an open box. So let's have fun.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I want to start with, you were born in Manhattan, New York. Where at?
I started off on the Lower East Side, and then I moved uptown like the Jeffersons.
No doubt. No doubt. So I'm a born and raised New Yorker, Queens, Southside Jamaica, Queens.
I'm six train.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay.
Like
I was either the E or the F.
Yeah. I mean, we are of the same tribe.
We are the same tribe. So your IMDb profile includes Caribbean Indian on that. Is that accurate?
Yes. That is accurate as well. Yes.
So does that mean, I'm going to go ahead and assume that means you have either Guyanese or Trinidadian blood?
I feel like I have to go further and look. I just did like a DNA 23andMe and see actually what the name and origin and the whole kit and caboodle is.
Okay.
But I think it might have something to do more along, of course, my Dominican, of course, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be Trinidadian. I'm not sure. I have to look. So do not quote me, because that aspect I don't know. But I know that I was able to put Caribbean Indian. I'm being bad right now, and I have to go check it out.
Yo, okay. Well, listen, I'm full 100% Guyanese. So
so maybe we are of the same tribe, literally.
Maybe we are. Whenever you're feeling ready to get in touch with those roots, if we're back in New York at the same time, I got to take you around Queens and show you the spots. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be awesome. Totally.
Yeah. We're connected in so many ways. We have our new headshots were taken by the same photographer. Shout out Michael Roud.
Yes, we love him. He captures that essence of the soul through the eyes, and I also love his lighting, and that's what was really appealing. I had my eye on him, and he had, followed me on social media, and I finally was like, you know what? I am ready to go take pictures with him. And it was just kind of like a fun experience, and he gave me a different look and perspective of things. And it was great for press shots and headshots. So definitely would recommend him to anyone. He's awesome.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. I want to jump into, take it back a little bit and talk about your aspirations as an actor. So I've heard many times you say that it's something that you always wanted to do, which I definitely relate to you there. I also popped out the womb, wanted to be an actor and a rapper.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if you recall, who were your inspirations as a kid? So what I mean by that is like, for example, when I was little, I was definitely looking at like saying to people, when I grow up, I'm gonna be just like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I'm gonna be just like Will Smith. Who are those people for you, if any?
Oh gosh. Well, first off, I think my mother, God rest her soul, was my number one inspiration, and I think all the different many facets of hats that I had to play. I think I got involved in sketch comedy. But looking back at actors, and I have a very, very interesting palette, because I like to call myself an old soul. Growing up, I loved Goldie Hawn and Sally Field.
Hell yeah.
Okay, those were people that I really resonated with. Like, my mom loved The Flying Nun, so I watched that quite often, right?
Yeah.
So when it came to sketch comedy, I would think of the show Laugh-In, and I would think of all these different quirky characters, hence why, I am where I am in my life right now. But and then, as far as like theatrical actors that really resonate with me, of course, who doesn't love, Meryl Streep, and who doesn't love like Diane Keaton and Jessica Lange and those veterans and the Al Pacinos and the Robert De Niros of the world, those are kind of what I resonate with as well.
Bet. Okay. You said Goldie Hawn. My favorite Goldie Hawn movie is called Seems Like Old Times. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
good. So good.
Yeah.
At that time, so did you just tell your mom, like, hey, I want to get into show business? And she just off the rip was like, hey, okay, cool. Let's take your pictures. Let's submit you to agencies. There was not even, she was supported from the jump.
Basically, I feel really lucky. I was an only child. She was an only child. And I think for her she was very worldly. Like, she actually dabbled in the arts a little bit. She was a very good singer. She was, when it came to even me, like preparing auditions, she would help me. And it was funny because sometimes we would be so into it. Right. And I'd be like, Mom, I'm not going to rehearse my lines with you because she goes, you know what? You always get frustrated, but guess what? You go in and you get the job.
Bet.
Because if you don't rehearse with me, then you're not going to get the job. I go, okay. But she was the stomping and the role model from the get-go. And yes, my mother, without a doubt, I think she would have allowed me to start a little sooner. I think my grandmother, God rest her soul, was concerned, like, is Alisa going to be able to live her life and be a child? But honestly, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Her and I had some of the most epic journeys growing up, and me going to Orlando and experiencing shooting all that on Nickelodeon all the way to it moving in California. So, especially now that she's not here on earth, like, I'm glad I have those memories, and thank God I have those memories, because what was, and that's the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Your journey made you who you are today.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So you took your pictures, you submitted them. You got signed to an agency called Tracy's Kids.
Tracy's Kids. They took a stab at me and gave me a script, a cold read. I went in there to Smucker's Jams and Jellies. Had no idea what I was doing, but I was cute and made sure I just said the words right. And she's like, we're going to give it a shot. First audition I went out for, kid you not, Honey Nut Cheerios commercial, national, allowed me to join SAG in 1990. And that was like the Pandora's box.
Boom. Yeah, you started way ahead of everyone that moves to Hollywood to get here. To joining SAG is like, have you seen that Cheerios commercial anywhere? I tried to find it on the internet. I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, yeah, I have it. And I think some of it was on my Instagram page. I have some photos and I can send you some.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
And then I think it's on YouTube somewhere. It's just the certain words you have to use. I'll take a look out for it.
Okay, cool.
I got you.
Dope. Okay. So that was your first gig. Was it Tracy's Kids that also got you the audition for Reading Rainbow?
I would say during the Reading Rainbow days, I think Tracy's Kids was my representation. At a later time, I ended up getting with a management company when I got all that on Nickelodeon, and that was called Marilyn Zittner. She was a private manager, and at the time, she also was Sarah Michelle Gellar's manager. So, I was around that frequency, and that was when Sarah Michelle Gellar was playing Kendall on All My Children, where she was Susan Lucci's daughter, before she became Buffy and all that stuff. Yeah. So I remember looking up to her, and she had a headshot, and there was a specific way she looked in the headshot. And I always told my mother, I want to pose like her. And when I had a headshot shoot, I mimicked her, and it was just, those were the good old days. Literally, those were the good old days. Yeah,
I can totally see that. In the 90s, if there's someone to mimic Sarah Michelle Gellar, is like, definitely.
Yeah, she was cute. She had a cute little bob too. I'm not mad at her.
Yeah. What was the audition for Reading Rainbow like?
It wasn't really an audition. Here's where the kicker was. You kind of already had the job. They kind of looked through probably your headshot, your resume. They were looking for a certain kind of age or demographic or who knows. And what you do is you go and you shoot it like you're gonna do it, but you may or may not necessarily make it to the editing floor. Right. A lot of it has to do with the frequency, and it was the banter, and it was the timing, and of course, there's like a little spiel and a gimmick that goes with your presentation. So it's like, may the best man win. And I didn't even really care. I went into this not even knowing that, until after the fact. But I also knew like, you never know, and you don't believe it till you finally see the final execution. Yeah. And I knew that even as a young little girl, because being in the entertainment business, you gotta have thick skin. You know that, right? Absolutely, yeah. So, and I feel like every time, whether you said yes or no, you keep on growing and you keep on trucking. Yeah. Yeah. You were in a Mariah Carey music video for Make It Happen. I was. Give me what your mindset was at that time. So I guess, first of all, were you a big Mariah fan, and was it kind of like a, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening? I didn't really know who she was because I was like 7, 8 years old, but like I heard her music and I kind of knew. Yeah. Later then I got her cassette tape for sure. Yeah. But I remember I had gotten picked to be like a featured person in her video, and it was done in a church. So it was very like dark and sepia colored, and it was very vintage, and it was beautifully done. And I remember like they placed me and like two other kids to dance next to her.
Yeah.
On a stage, and there were other people down below watching us in the church. And I was doing the Running Man and the Roger Rabbit.
Hell yeah.
And I had little bangs, and I had close-ups, and I was dancing with her. And I remember in between takes, she was so nice to us. And that was a really cool moment. That was one of my first music videos. And I didn't know what the final edit was going to be, but I remember looking at it and I was like, that's so cool. And now to this day, they have it up on my IMDb, and it's just me and Mariah listed. Like nobody else was.
Hell yeah.
But just me and Mariah Carey. So I was dying because I was going, oh yeah, it was just Mariah and I. That's it.
That was our moment.
That was our moment. So that was really serendipitous and cool. And so whenever I hear "Make It Happen," because I heard it so many times when I shot the video, you know, I'm just like, yeah, that was my jam.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Fast forward to when All That is doing their nationwide talent search. I imagine then that it was Marilyn Zittner that submitted you to that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yeah, that was the start of magic. That was, you know, All That was my first series regular role. And so that was amazing.
You go in and you do 7 auditions in that Times Square Viacom building. I've heard you talk about the sketch that you and your mom made up about your sister with long armpit hair and all that stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, for the 7 auditions though, like
what did I do?
Yeah, like was that sketch for just one of them, or did you repeat it? Was it 7 because you were doing it for different people, or was it really just every time you come back in and there's a new prompt for you?
So that is a monologue that I wrote with my mother. Okay. I was also assigned a couple of sketch scenes. The first audition was just me going in. I think Brian Robbins was there with Mike Tolan and maybe another, you know, writer, producer, and I was being videotaped on a VHS.
Yeah.
And it was just in an audition room, and I did my stand-up comedy that I wrote, and I did impersonations, and they asked me and interviewed me. And I did improv where they just told me to create a scenario. And then I did do a scene where I read with the reader. Then when I got the call back, I feel like either the second or third time I ended up getting paired up with another actor. And I'll never forget the other actor, beautiful girl, but she was just so much older than me. I was like 12 and she was like 16, 17. So I was like, well, they're either going to go with me or with her because we're completely 2 different age demographics. But I held my own. I held my own, and I was the only one, by the grace of God, out of New York. So I felt so special to hold it down. But yeah, it was basically them doing what's called chemistry reads, and then also them creating content with me. I think they were also like, okay, we like her, so let's see what characters we can grab. Hence why later I played, you know, characters that maybe have a Latin accent, or Kiki was born off of a character I probably did for my audition, things like that. So I think it was also considered kind of a development thing. By the 4th or 5th time, it wasn't even about necessarily it being even a screen test. It was more about developing, figuring out, okay, what are we going to do? Because the show was untitled. It was called an untitled sketch comedy show. And I think they were still trying to figure out, like, what are we doing? And then once they finally said, okay, these are the 7 kids we like, we're done with this. Yeah. Now let's go really create. And so I'm sure once we all were cast, like, they went into the writer's room, like, ready to go and just had to piece everything together. You know, it's almost kind of like an SNL, how SNL, they're very hands-on, the writers, but this time it was more them having to hone in, you know, because we were the kids, you know, but we had a lot of input. And that's why I think the characters that are very popular today were long lasting, because we all resonated with them. You know, we did the work with it, you know? Yep.
So speaking of the auditions, in, I believe it was season 2, you guys did a sketch about auditioning. And in that sketch, if you remember, you did a bunch of gymnastics. And I'm wondering, was that you? Do you have a gymnastics background, or was that a stunt double?
So I did do gymnastics. I did do some, but I did have to have a stunt double for some of the flips. But I did some of the bar stuff. So overall, like, I could say I did half my stunt work.
That's pretty dope and rather impressive. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And yeah, I never forget that one little scene. I'm like wiping sweat off and I had a little bun in my head. Yeah, I remember that. That was a really cute episode. I kind of remember was like, what are they going to make us all do? The cold opens were always fun. And
Yeah.
that was something I always looked forward to reading and then also finding out who the guest star was going to be.
Right.
Sometimes it would change. You would find out, okay, it's going to be this person, and then it ends up being somebody else.
Yeah. Okay, so after you book it, you go straight to Orlando. I've heard you say that you got off the plane and went straight to set to meet everybody.
Yeah.
2 questions. Number 1, do you recall first impressions of your fellow cast members?
I do.
You do? Okay, let's do that first.
So I'm like, we go into the trailer. I feel like I'm like doing this hypnosis thing. And, I meet the teacher who, God rest his soul, I still stay in touch with his wife via social media, Chuck Yeager. He was also the teacher and tutor for the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was like, the entertainment tutor. And so he passed away. So shout out to him. He taught me about what a protractor really does. And Josh was in there and Lori Beth and everybody was in there. And I remember like people were listening to like their Walkmans and stuff like that. We'd be allowed to do that. I mean, really, who gets to do that in actual school? So the fact that we were able to do that was kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I remember being very like intrigued with everyone's ethnicity, the way everyone looked, where are people from, how old were you? I was scoping out all the goods. And everyone that I met honestly embraced me immediately. And I knew from the first table read all the way down to the first time we rehearsed on set, it was like a dimensional shift. And I knew that this was something magic.
Hell yeah. Did Nick organize any like special icebreakers or little events for you guys before you started for you to get to know each other? Or did you guys just get right into the show?
Oh, I'm sure there was like a pizza night and we had another fun thing was we all lived in the same kind of community when we lived in Orlando. So like meaning like apartment complex community. So we were walking distance. And so the moms, of course, all wanted to basically mingle and the dads all wanted to, talk to one another. So we always hung out by the pool.
Nice.
And, we always end up maybe like trying to go, okay, are the kids, maybe we can all go and do an activity together.
Yeah.
One night I was able to go to a teen club and it was me and Keenan and Cal and we had fun.
Nice. A teen club in Orlando, huh?
We went to a teen club in Orlando. Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to get back to that one later. You said that while you guys were shooting in Orlando, you're basically on the back lot. So on your free time, you'd go ride the rides. You would hop on Terminator, which I'm sorry that they shut it down in 2017. Made me very sad. Yeah.
So sad.
So when you guys were doing that, was it you and your fellow cast members kind of doing that together? Were your parents with you? I'm assuming that you weren't on set without your parent or without a supervisor, parent, or guardian. So what was that like? And did you guys did you have cast members that you were closer to that you were more doing that with? Or,
right.
Yeah.
I think like in the beginning, our parents were very okay, you guys are a little poor, you all stick together. And then later on, I think we ended up having like sort of like PA go with us, right?
Okay. Yeah,
They're like, fine. But now the show's doing well and some people might know who you are. So we need to get you back to set because this is like an hour of your lunchtime and you guys want to drive us crazy and go on a ride and eat food in that cafeteria rather than in our cafeteria.
Yeah, of course.
And I feel like sometimes I went with Keenan and Kel because they were older than me by a couple years. So I was like, okay, well, they're like the older team.
Yeah.
Because I was 12 turning 13. So they were like maybe 15, 16,
Okay, yeah.
So that little 2-year gap, I felt like they're like my big brothers. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm in the middle of them. I'm protected. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Same thing with Lori Beth. She's my big sister. And with Katrina, she was like my little sister. And Angelique and I were equal in age. So, I mean, overall, it's like, we were a tribe, and I think always when we were together, like there was that Care Bear. We always kind of made sure that we had eyes on the back of our head and whatnot.
When you guys were rolling around, let's say like once the show got on, did you start getting recognized and stopped pretty frequently, or not yet?
What was cool was we started to do autograph sightings. The show was like a Monday through Friday schedule.
Right.
And we had an audience, once a week. And so we started to sign autographs at the end of every show. They set it up and like literally the line of the audience would pass us and we would sign everybody an autograph.
That's
and
so
when
dope.
we saw people actually wanted our autograph, it wasn't like, people didn't just walk past us. Like they actually, we had a mob of people. And I was like, this is really, wow, is this what that feels like? And then, when we started to like walk around the malls and stuff like that, we got recognized. And then once we started doing Nick events
Yeah.
and you saw the outpour of the fans,
Yeah.
then I was like, oh. And then when I went back home to where I was from in Manhattan, New York,
Yep.
when I was on hiatus and I saw how the dynamic changed with my friends in high school and my peers.
Yeah.
I saw a shift, but I always made sure, as did my mother, like we try to stay as grounded and as gratitude as possible.
Yeah.
And I was never going to let anything like that phase me, you know, and change me. Mm-hmm.
That much is clear. I think you're one of the most grounded people I've met. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Ditto, ditto, ditto.
Oh,
ditto.
Thank you. For all intents and purposes, you know, that was kind of your middle school and high school experience, because you didn't have a normal one or a traditional one. You mentioned the onset teacher earlier. When you guys were doing that, right? Because there's like a legal amount of time that you have to do that. Was he teaching you guys in groups? So you guys, were you essentially like in class with Keenan, Carol, and Josh, etc.? And if so, like, what was that like? I guess I'm assuming they had a designated area on set where you guys would go to do that.
We had a trailer.
You had a trailer. Okay, so you had a trailer that was like
and then we had cubbies all around it, and then a big table in the middle where it's communal. And so some of us would be homeschooled. Some of us were in actual school. I went from a school, and then I did homeschooling for a little bit as well.
Okay.
So that means your school either gives you your academic material, or the homeschooling gives you a program and you follow what you do, right?
Okay, yeah.
So the teacher basically has like kind of an assignment sheet, right, for each person. Granted, we're all doing work together, but no, we're in different categories. Maybe I would be sat next to someone more in my frequency, because maybe someone's doing algebra and one's doing geometry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Keenan and Cal did favor sitting together. Lori Beth wasn't there. She was done school.
Right.
But she was on the outs of being done school.
Yeah.
Josh was also sitting next to the boys. And so us girls were kind of together because of age range, but we were all in the same facility. But the teacher would go through our assignments and check in, okay, they did this, what they were supposed to do daily. And if not, then we would have homework and we'd have to spend the next day on top of us having to learn our lines as well.
Were you guys good students generally, or was it kind of just being a normal kid and you were just like messing around?
I mean, I passed and I have a high school diploma, thank God.
Yeah, look, that's all that matters.
It was definitely a challenge, because even though I went to the Performing Arts School in Manhattan, New York City, where I majored in musical theater as my high school, it was equipped for actors. Like I went to school with Britney Spears and, Claire Danes and Alicia Keys and like that. But at the end of the day, no matter if you do a homeschool, which I've experienced, or if you do an actual school, right? It's still a challenge because you're not in a normal setting that you're used to. So you have to create this new remote setting. Like, so theoretically, I feel like I experienced a pandemic-y feel, as does every other kid, because you're in your own little like hub, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make your new normal work. And I think not being distracted is what the challenge is. We were excited. We were in a new environment with new people, with older kids, with younger kids. I'm an only child. This was my first big show. There was a lot, I was like high vibrational. So yes, to focus education, having Chuck Yeager, thank God, was amazing. And we got through it. But yes, like life, like being an adult, you're going to have to jingle and do the best you can, and juggle that, scale of life. So being a kid, imagine how challenging that is. But I feel by the grace of God, we got through it and we all turned out all right.
Yeah, absolutely. For a traditional teenage experience, right, your friends are people you meet in school and you guys generally hang out outside of school and you develop those relationships. I imagine it was difficult for you to make friends that were not on set with you because, I mean, you weren't necessarily going to a school or like, so I guess the question is, did you have friends outside of set that you hung out with a lot, and or did you spend a lot of time offset hanging out with your fellow cast members?
Well, you only see your cast members when you're physically with them, when we shoot the show, or when we get flown out to do different events, or if one of your cast members is in the state that you live in. I was lucky because I was the only from New York, so there was times where we did massive press in New York and I was able to invite a friend to come see my world because it was right there where I lived. But overall, I kind of call it an a la carte experience because you are pretty much uprooted out of your frequency and your family and tribe. And it was pretty much just my mother and I.
Yeah.
And so, my mom and dad, they were separated when I was young. So my dad, he came and visited once, and I had a couple friends visit me as well. But overall, it was just her and I. So, I lived life where I would see my family during more like holidays or when I was on hiatus. Because when you're on a show, you work like half the year, and then half the year you kind of don't, and your schedule's a little kind of all over the place. So hence why you're schooling, you just follow what you're assigned, and that's what the tutor does for you. And you just kind of cross your fingers that you cruise on by. But like I said, we got through it. And I think every year and every season, you created a routine and things became a little bit more normal for all of us,
Were you guys shooting through the fall, for example, like September, October, November?
Oh, yeah. I remember like my hiatus, I feel was maybe like December, January, February, and we'd be more like second, third quarter, maybe a little bit of the fourth, you know what I mean, of the year, so you kind of get that first quarter of the year to kind of dive in. And it's that old thing. Everybody wants the holidays to kind of unwind, reboot, and recharge. And that makes sense. Some people have a fast start of the new year, some productions, and some people take a little bit of break, So, there is a consistency, but sometimes in the entertainment business, there isn't a consistency, when it comes to just productions. They can do whatever they want. They have the magic. Mm-hmm.
So the reason I asked about fall is because something I was thinking about. So that means like you were shooting during October, Halloween, and you were doing that during like prime trick-or-treating years. We have a limited amount of trick-or-treating years, and you were definitely there for some important ones. So did you guys ever go out trick-or-treating together? Or what did you
we went to Halloween Horror Nights.
That's because you were right on the back lot.
Yeah. All day, every day. We were doing that. That was fun. And then did I trick-or-treat? Probably just for fun. Like, I want to go get some candy, just for fun in my complex. But I think I was more about like, let's go to a fun party or something like that. Cause I was doing all that in like the prime of my high school years. I was 9th, 10th, 11th grade. Like I wanted to be around my peers and stuff. So I was hanging out a lot with like the people from the Mickey Mouse Club as well. And even though I was close with like my All That croonies, segueing back to the question you asked, when I would go back home to New York, no, I had like a little crew of friends that I was close with to this day. I still talk to them, and they're now doing some great and amazing things. And now they're moms and have babies and all this beautiful stuff. But, at the end of the day, I think, you make your tribe no matter where you are. And whether it's proud family or all that, we can always pick up from where we left off. And it's beautiful how we're all still alignment and how the magic is still going strong, with all the shows I've been attached to. I feel very blessed for that.
What were your favorite shows on TV? Like, were you watching Nicktoons, other stuff on Nickelodeon, or what were you consuming at that time?
Well, of course, you have the typical, for me, of course, when I was a kid, I loved Disney as well. So I was watching the new Mickey Mouse Club mixed with like Kids Incorporated. You can't do that on television. Doug, Rugrats, those type of frequencies. I love me some Jim Henson, so I loved Fraggle Rock, Sesame Street, all those kind of frequencies, right? Another one that I loved is, what's her name? Lamb Chop Play Along. Do you remember her?
Hell yeah.
Yes.
The song that never ends.
Yes. The song that, and my daughter loves that. And my daughter now loves Pee-wee's Playhouse, going, Pee-wee, Pee-wee.
You're exposing her to the classics.
Yeah, which he has an awesome Instagram, by the way, Pee-wee. You have to check it out if you haven't. I'm always entertained by him on a daily basis. He's fabulous.
Okay, I will. That's what's up.
Yeah, but so, and I love that nostalgic stuff, but because, sometimes you think back, like TV isn't the way it used to be. Sure. And you think back, sometimes film isn't the way it used to be. So for me to be on shows that got brought back, it made sense. I knew it was a matter of time, and hence why I got a chance to meet you at D20, right? D23 is where we met, right?
Yeah, actually, well, that was our second meeting. We met once before, very briefly at Comic-Con.
I was going to say, and then at Comic-Con, yes, you beat me to it. So, and it's been awesome seeing you grow too. You've been killing it. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
And don't mind me. I'm on my 4th sip of coffee already during this whole interview. I'm a mom now, so sometimes you got to have a little caffeine kick.
Nah, no judgment here. The All That theme, I think, might be the best Nickelodeon theme of all time.
Wow. Okay.
R.I.P. Left Eye, of course. Did you see the trailer for the TLC documentary?
I was looking at it, and yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
and I'm so happy
goosebumps.
to see them that's, having their point of view and coming out with their frequency. When I met them from day one, I knew they were something amazing. And I was so happy my mom was able to meet them and to be in a scene with them. I did a scene with them called Leap Froggy Frog, where Keenan was a frog and they were like the little flies, and I was the host of whatever MTV Yo Raps or whatever, and I was Angie B, and it was really fun, and just dancing with them. And I remember Left Eye gave me a little piece of string she had wrapped around her head, and I had it saved somewhere, and I'll just never forget that moment. Dope. I know. And even Aaliyah, just meeting Aaliyah, who was beautiful, and to this day, I still try to keep in touch with family members of her, because everyone that I've met, what's beautiful is I can always pick up from where I left off. They all know, meaning like Usher and Craig Mack, so many people have passed away. And then we have, Busta Rhymes, so many amazing people that I've met that I know if I bumped into them, it's like they remember. There's this little moment because they were starting off too. A lot of these groups, I would like Monica and Brandy, a lot of these Mocha and stuff, everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of these groups are now
the lineup
really
was
successful.
stacked.
Yeah. So, and being from New York and being around that urban hip hop stuff, I was loving it. I was like, woo-hoo. Totally.
All that actually had a very specific impact on me. I'll tell you real quick. Because you mentioned the musical guest, but the first time I ever wrote rhymes, right, that's launched me into my rap career was when I saw Run DMC as the musical guest on All That.
Oh, yeah.
Before that, I was exposed to all that stuff from growing up in Queens, right? My uncle and my older cousins, they were big, Run DMC fans and just hip hop fans in general. But my uncle used to play Run DMC in his room all the time. And so when I saw them as the guest and all that, I was like, oh shit, Run DMC. And they did Christmas in Hollis. And so when the episode was over, I was like, yo, this is such a dope Christmas song. I have to write down the lyrics. This was 1994. You couldn't just rewind the TV. So
you gotta literally
so I busted out my composition notebook, and I couldn't remember the lyrics. All I could remember was the beat in my head. So I was like, I'll just make it up. It'll be fine. And so I wrote my own Christmas rap.
That motivated you.
It motivated me, And then I showed it to my uncle the next day, who was kind of like my source for hip hop. And I was like, yo, I wrote this. What do you think? And he was like, yo, this is fucking incredible, man. You should do this. And I'm sure it was terrible, 5-year-old, whatever.
But the fact that you did it.
Yeah. So that was all that, kind of started me right there.
Oh, I love it. That's adorable.
Yeah. I've heard you say that you were very infatuated with Erykah Badu. You wanted to sip on tea and light incense in your house after you met Erykah. Do you have an all-time favorite musical guest?
I feel like, Craig Mack was really, really sweet to my mother. And
that's dope.
Yeah, he was really sweet to my mother. And he said, your mom is like the mom manager. Like she lets you be you, but she knows when to chime in, and she's just chilling with us. And I remember I came off set and my mother's hanging out with Craig Mack in the dressing room, and I'm going like, what are you doing, Mom? She's like, he's cool. And then she goes, I understand him when he raps.
That's an important mom prerequisite right there.
Right. She goes, he's good. And then we had Shaq's brother do like a little walk-on cameo.
Yeah.
And we got a chance to meet Shaq. And oh my God, I have a picture of my mom with Shaquille O'Neal. She's like this, smiling, pointing him, glowing, because my mother loved the Lakers. She loves sports. And so like that was iconic. Oh, Chris Farley.
Yeah, you said that he invited you guys to the Beverly Hills Ninja premiere, right?
Ninja premiere. We were so excited because that was kind of like the start of us finally experiencing red carpets, but that was like getting images. That was like, it was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, what do we wear? He got a limo for us, and we did the carpet, and then we walked in and everybody was giving popcorn and, drinks, and we sat down right there smack, and we had no idea what we were doing. Cause when we performed with him, they really let him just have one take, because he took ketchup and he just went crazy. And I remember going, how are they going to get that off the lights? You can't just take a hose. You got to literally climb it and clean it.
Absolutely.
So I was like, but it was one of the best iconic scenes from all that, with him doing the Randy and Mandy
Very
sketch
memorable.
Yeah. Very memorable.
Talking about the production, I read that, for example, like when Kiki came up, it was definitely your idea and sort of your input for her to be as energetic as she was and upbeat. Over the time that you were in all that, how much input did you feel like you had into the sketches, or were they for the most part written out and you guys were just acting it out?
It was both. We, number one, a character grows through every rehearsal, and there's a lot of improv that's associated with our show. And then as you come back and you see the script rainbow page, because there's a lot of different rewrites and alt lines. But I would say a lot of these characters were crafted, like I said, in the audition process and in the developmental stages, which I call the boot camp stages.
Right.
And there are times, without a doubt, I was like, I would go to the writers and be like, listen, I have a cute idea.
Hell yeah.
And, hence why there was a funny scene where it's the Everything is Sticky store.
Uh-huh.
And I have a baby attached to me, and I have the funniest, that was my Rosie Perez moment, and I was like, my baby keep falling down on me. My baby, I need it to stick on me, Yeah. I don't know who was in the store, keying somebody, and everything that, you put on yourself is a sticker.
Yeah.
So, that you also listen, I'm driven. I have chutzpah. I will share my ideas. Hence why to this day, I'm a producer. I create content, I write. You got to be a little bit of a jack of all trades. You don't have to be, but I think the more you can do, the better, right? You have more options in life, right?
Yeah, no, especially these days for an artist, it's the era of the self-made artist. So the more that you can do, I agree.
The more the merrier. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I would go in and be confident and share ideas, but I feel like, always something would come back in alignment. And I felt like the frequency was fair. And, when it was time for season 4, they wanted me to stay, but I had got offered to be a series regular on One World on NBC, which was a Peter Ingle show. Yep. It was a really hard decision, but I left sketch comedy to go do sitcom for about 4 years, and I won a Hollywood Reporter Award for Best Actress for Marcy Blake. And you could see all seasons on Tubi for free, which is really cute. I thought that was fun for fans.
Yep.
And, overall, then my path just got more into TV and film and animation and where I am.
Hell yeah. I thought it was really interesting. I read you say that any place that has an island feel makes your soul complete. And you mentioned the Florida Keys is one of your favorite vacation spots. I thought that was amazing because Kiki obviously feels the same way since she's content to be on an island forever and ever and ever. Florida Keys, my wife and I were just there last year, I think, for the first time.
Isn't it the best?
It's amazing. I was going to
Don't you just put your cell phone away and don't give a crap?
Yeah, no, it was fire. We were there doing some videos or content for their board of tourism. So they sent us to a bunch of dope places. We did a hunt for the best key lime pies. So we ate 7 or 8 key lime pies in a day.
You were key lime pieing it, and you were eating some conch fritters too.
Oh my God, conch fritters all day.
Key West is a special place because of my boat racing experience.
Oh, that's right. Is that where you did the races?
Mm-hmm. So I started off as a spokesperson for an organization called Superboat International.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. The president, John Carbonell, passed away some time ago, but I'm still really close with his wife. And I will have a spot in my heart because I one day went, well, listen, I'm a spokesperson for you guys, but I want to know what it's like getting in a boat. So
yeah.
I'm like, all right, you got to do a little training. We'll link you up, and I ended up getting a shoe sponsor. Dollhouse Footwear was my sponsor. And then they basically paired me up with a team. I just found out this past year that my throttle man, Frank, passed away. And so God rest his soul. And I was his driver, and it was called Extreme Racing. And we did a race in Miami and won second place.
Wow. Is there video footage of this?
Yeah, I have some pictures too. I have to look through my archive. So when I find it, I'll let you know. I literally have a picture of me in the boat and everything like that. I was driving a 29-footer Fountain Mercury non-canopy boat.
Yep.
And Reggie Fountain, who actually is the main man who owns Fountain Mercury, gave us an engine for our boat. So it was amazing. And I'll never forget that because the adrenaline rush, my poor mother standing there, while I'm going through the Bermuda Triangle and doing the rosary. And I'll never forget, I'm going in the boat doing a practice session with my throttle guy, and I'm wearing a helmet that has electricity, we could talk to each other.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden a wave went over us, and all of a sudden everything went out, and all of a sudden I hear, Mayday, Mayday. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm dealing with like an Amelia Earhart situation.
Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah, and that tripped me out because right around that area is the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
So I think I literally went through a portal. Legit. Swear to God.
That's crazy. What? What?
Was.
Did it,
Yes.
so? But did that resolve itself immediately? Like, did you?
Not at all. It's just a memory I have. I mean, the fact that I heard Mayday, Mayday was like, whoa,
Wow.
And I'm very connected to my sixth sense. So, in the midst of that, they probably were immensely tuned up and enhanced.
Wow. That's a story.
Yeah, but I love the Keys, and I'll have a soft place there because that's where everything originated from, So
Yeah.
that was an amazing moment in my life, and I'll never forget. And if I get a chance to get back in a boat, I'll do it all over again.
Bet. I want to fast forward to 2001. One World was ending, and that's in 2001 is when you got the gig to voice LaCienega on Proud Family.
Mm-hmm.
So how did voice work come about for you? Was it something that you thought to yourself like, hey, agent and manager, submit me for this type of stuff? Or did they just approach and say, hey, we want Alisa for this specific character?
I think it happened okay, finally, you're ready to do voiceovers? Here's a project. And it was like one of the first ones where I was like, yeah, let's add voiceovers. And I'm not going to lie to you. Yes, I went in and it happened just like that kind of a situation.
So dope.
And I think I feel really blessed because of that. But I feel like because of my background, I feel like that definitely helped with the frequency. I feel all of us individually as actors brought in just this vibration from our past credits,
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was freshly off of all of that and One World. So, I was able to bring life to LaCienega, and I really feel like the character has now morphed, and I feel like she's my alter ego.
Yeah.
I feel like there's times where I look like her, kind of, I mean, we all kind of resemble our characters in our own organic, authentic way. It's kind of Kyla, Tommy, all of us are on-camera actors.
Yeah.
So when I came in for LaCienega, I remember just telling them how I perceived her to be, and then they played back and forth with her. And I remember going, let's not put her in a box. Let's not make her stereotypical, hence why she's very Latin American. And I add my moments of Spanglish, but at the same time, it's like a melting pot frequency that my character bestows, as does all of the Boulevardezes. We have Spanglish that we speak, which is very common within a lot of households. So I think the show has been a great representation for all of those facets. And then after that, yes, I started to do auditions for voiceovers, and I got a voiceover agent, and then the rest was, it opened up Pandora's box for me to do more voiceover work.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite episode of Proud Family?
The Quinceañera episode.
Yes,
from this
so
past season.
Good.
It was, I had a princess moment. You can't beat that.
You can't.
No. And then this season 2 is a perfect 10, I helicoptering and doing backflips and my duck feet are back. And, and that's a really fun scene, me and Billy Porter's character. So, what's great about Proud Family is we all get a chance to have our moment as characters.
Yeah.
So that's what's beautiful is you're going to see a moment with Dejanay and Zoe and Maya and LaCienega and of course Penny. So, and then we have great Juneteenth episodes and just all these great activism, and it's just very powerful. And I'm just so proud of everything that, our tribe's been doing. They've been killing it over at Disney Plus. So proud of them.
Man, that Quinceañera episode is amazing. I mean, it's deep on so many levels. It's got a banger in it. At the Quinceañera, they're playing Amara La Negra, which is like, that song is...
I know.
Oh my God.
I do feel like LaCienega in particular is trying really hard to learn her morals and lessons a little faster. You know what I mean? And she's catching up with the rest of the gang. And I feel like at the end of the day, all the characters have such a strong growth, and now adding Maya and, Michael, which is played by E.J. Johnson, to the group, that brings a really fun dynamic. And, it's just... I think there's something for everybody when they sit down and watch it.
Earlier, you were talking about Mickey Mouse Club. I've heard you tell a story that you've auditioned for Mickey Mouse Club and it didn't happen. Britney Spears got that part. I'm curious as if you're willing to share any other opportunities, like things that you've auditioned for that didn't work out over the years.
Oh, sure. Really fast about the Mickey Mouse Club. I had a couple callbacks, and I remember hearing Britney Spears, she's up for it. And that she does backflips and all these fun things. I go, I don't do backflips.
Yeah.
But I do sing and dance. And I did have to sing and dance for it. And it was so much fun. And I did a monologue, and I to this day still remember a little bit of the monologue.
Yep.
And I do remember the song that I had to sing, and I gave like a karaoke cassette tape to do it. It was so funny.
Wow.
I auditioned for, I got called in for a couple things freshly off of all that. So I auditioned for Romeo and Juliet, which was, now Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio. So I auditioned for Juliet.
Wow.
Auditioned for Star Wars as Princess Leia, and that was now played by Natalie Portman. And I auditioned for the movie Lolita, and that was played by
Is it Dominique Swain?
Dominique Swain. I knew it was with an S. Dominique Swain, yes. Yeah. And so clearly I don't look like Claire Danes or Dominique, or do I look like Natalie Portman, but I do know that for all those roles, the director and casting and producers, they were maybe looking for a different look, right, or a different ethnicity, or they were intrigued to meet me. And I've auditioned for some really iconic pieces. I mean, a lot of people don't know, when I first started out in the business, I had a small little part in the movie The Super with Joe Pesci. I was a little girl in that. I did a really small little part in Malcolm X. And I've got a chance to work in some really, really big movies. And so, growing up in this business, I did pay my dues as a kid. I did background work. I did all these different things. So for me, paying my dues, I wasn't so bitter. But I mean, because I was a kid, I was absorbing everything. Sometimes when people do things a little later in life, I'm not saying people expect things on a silver platter, but they get frustrated isn't it happening. It's like, everybody has to get their foot in the door a little bit. It doesn't matter if you're 8 or 50. So you got to give a little to get a little, and then I promise the universe will even it out.
I agree. My mind is blown by that Star Wars. You would have made a great Padme.
Oh, I went in there with my little buns, and I remember exactly what I wore, which was kind of funny.
Wow, what was it?
My mother had me in an all white outfit. So I wore a white denim skirt that went to like a little above my knees, and a white shirt that was just like a t-shirt that was a little tight fitting. And it had a little red heart over my heart in red glitter. Don't ask, with my hairs in two bun. Don't ask why that's the outfit that I wore. My mother thought that looked kind of like galactic. I said, whatever you say, Mom.
Hell yeah.
My little Jedi outfit.
Well, listen, you're a part of the Disney family, so let's put it out into the universe that Alisa Reyes does belong in the Star Wars universe. Ooh. It's ever expanding. There's so many original series. There's movies, so there's a place for you there.
Awesome. I love that.
If you were starting now, if you were that kid now in 2023, let's say you're 12 years old in 2023, what do you think you would be doing differently now, or what would you have to do now to launch your career?
I think my poor mother would be like, oh, with the social media and the cell phone, And so I think that is something that would be incorporated, because that's something that I did not have to grow up with. I had to actually sit down and talk to a journalist who's recording me with a tape recorder,
right.
Or writing the notes down. And then I would be in a Teen Bop or Teen Magazine or Tiger Beat and stuff like that, So when we now being on Proud Family from Disney Channel to Disney Plus, it's like two different spectrums for us too, especially airing in the early 2000s. And then now, Proud Family also marketing and branding was so different then compared to now.
Yeah.
So I've been in this business for over 30 years, and I've seen the growth. I was talking about this in a previous interview, like all the way down to technology, how big the cameras were when I was doing all that, all the way down to the cameras now and how they look on set when I'm doing production. So it's amazing to see the growth of technology and how everything is right now. And I feel like, at 12 years old, I probably would have to be on the up and up with modern technology. But also, I think I would be diving really deep into media content creation and just really trying to capitalize on that. Because if you can do things remotely and make money remotely, think of all the other things you could productively do from your sacred home, so there's a lot of perks to it as well. I just feel like also there's a lack of human touch now because of what happened with the pandemic, and now things are opening up. But overall, times are different from when I was a kid. And now that I'm a new mom, I'm trying to absorb all that with my child. But I think, listen, no matter what time you're in, whether we can go backwards or forward, you're just going to make it work. Right? You're just going to make it work.
Facts. That's a soundbite right there. I know that you went to musical theater school, so that means you were probably singing at that time. Is singing professionally something that you also always aspired to? And if so, or even if not, what inspired you to start releasing original music just recently?
Well, I was in a girls group called 3Gs when I was late teens, early 20s. And basically we were on the Princess Diary soundtrack, signed with
Dope.
Hollywood Records. Yeah. And, it was an amazing experience. I later then got pushed to go solo. And then after I got pushed to go solo, in the midst of that, my acting career really just took off. And so I kind of had to figure out what that balance was. And I knew that the music world really wanted me 24/7, but I was so drawn to acting. So I kind of focused being more on TV and film. But then in the back of my head, I was like, I need to do music. I need to do music. So in the interim, I've released some things independently, but I am actually going to be working with some amazing people where I'll be dropping some new songs on my, digital platforms and all that stuff. And,
Hell yeah.
and so, even though my music has been out a little sporadically, like I still have that love. Disney has allowed me to sing on the show and do some really fun things. So stay posted later this year.
Nice.
You may be hearing me sing.
Yes.
And so
that's what
whenever
I, like
I
to
get
hear.
a chance to sing with Disney, it's always magical. And that's the beauty about what I do is, I could be singing, I could be doing voiceover, I could be writing, I could be on camera. As long as I'm doing something in the arts, my soul is happy.
Yep. I love that. You've mentioned before that you have a vision board, which I think is dope. I have one myself. I was wondering if you would be comfortable sharing just at least one thing that's on there right now that's like an Alisa Reyes goal for the future.
Let me look at it and hold on. One thing I have on there that says a new universe is awakening. So that I just pray for the continued ascension with Gaia and Mother Earth and everyone on this planet, to be awakened out of this 3D matrix and to really just be able to connect to their higher selves. I know on a daily basis, it's hard for the human psyche to realize that the law of attraction really is what that magic antidote is, and that love is the key. And at the same time, it's all about thoughts, right? What we create mentally will just be on a loop. So you have to speak lovingly and be that reflection you want to see in others. So for me, I'm trying to stay grounded and be aware of that positive mantra that I try to create for myself on a daily basis. And then something just a little fun is, I have a little saying that goes, I got the crown, boo. I got the crown.
Hell
right?
yeah.
We all have the crown. So as long as you remember that, like, you are that goddess, within, that God within, God is within you. We are all one, keep it trucking,
Yeah.
then life is good.
I love it. I want to ask, if you're comfortable sharing, your husband, Nathan, how did you guys meet?
Oh, he had a radio show called The Nate Gus Show. And Gus is his best friend, who was our best man in our wedding and my daughter's godparent. And, they interviewed me when I was just, I was, this was a long, long time ago. We've been together almost 15 years, married 7. So, when I met them, I just was like, he's cute, but I wasn't really looking for a relationship. And then unfortunately, a month later, my mom passed away. And so we had a mutual friend. And I remember that I referred my husband and his roommates to move into my complex. So he then became walking distance. So I was able to heal the loss of my mother with him and his group of friends. And they became like my little tribe. And we had adventures and we'd go on hikes and go to the beach and just be like, free-spirited, fun kids, and I needed that at that time. And so it happened very organically and I wasn't looking for it. And we became best friends, and I was always at his house. And I remember, like, I lived alone, of course, because my mom passed away and I'm an only child. And one day I was just like, come to my house and hang out. I'll cook us some dinner. And then the rest was history. We finally were alone and we were able to get to know each other outside of like the group of friends that were just always like watching us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But our first kiss was spin the bottle, by the way. Like, I was
No
in my
way.
20s playing spin the bottle, but that was our first kiss. I was like making sure it spun right on him.
That is amazing. give it a little flick of the wrist, make sure it lands on Nathan.
And then I just like attacked him. I'm teasing.
I love it. That's beautiful. You know what's crazy? My wife and I have also been together for almost 15 years in September. So that means that we all started dating at the same, like 2008.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We were on the same kind of time frame.
It was same time frame.
I just beat you a little bit.
You did, yeah. If you could bring back just one thing from the 90s, what would it be?
Wow. Should we bring back a beeper?
Yo, dope
the
answer.
Beeper. What was your beeper code? Mine was 4. What was my number? 4. What was yours?
Was it literally just 4?
Like the number 4 was my favorite number. So I'd be like pound 4. Like, what was yours?
So I was too little to have a beeper. I was just looking up to people. I just thought it was a dope. You know what I used to do? I used to take, because my uncle had one who I always looked up. He was like my fashion icon. So he always had the beeper, and like, whatever, girls were paging him. I was like 3 or 4 years old, and he'd be like, I got to call this girl back. If he would take it off, I would just like walk around with it on my waist to be like, I'm cool. I got a beeper.
Funny, with like no batteries in it.
No, but yeah, nothing. Yeah.
That was the thing. I mean, I remember when I was a teenager, like for Valentine's Day, like my boyfriend like gave me a bag and a teddy bear and a rose, and in the bag was like an aqua turquoise beeper, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. And like beepers were like $50 back then. That was a lot. You know what I mean? So it was hilarious. And then of course, once my mom knew my beeper number, it was blowing up. Get home
all day long. Yeah.
All day. 911. But I loved how you could do like little phrases like 143 and flip the numbers upside down. It was kind of crazy. Like those are iconic moments. And of course, last but not least, like good old rotary phones, and how when you would visit your grandparents, you can't beep anybody because you can't hit pound.
Yep. It's funny you said grandparents. As soon as I think of rotary, I think of going to my grandma's house. Yep.
Yeah. Not my rotary, my grandparents' rotary.
Yep. Exactly.
But just things like that. And then one last thing, the phone that looks like kiss lips, like a lips.
Yes. Did you have one?
I think I had one once as a teenager, like a red or pink one. Yeah.
Okay. That's what's up. Beeper is a great answer. We haven't gotten that one yet. I love it.
Yay! That was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Alisa. I really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, until next time, I'm all grown up.
SYKE!
Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I'm all grown up. SYKE!